Good evening. I'm John Batchelor. This is the John Batchelor Show. Great fun to welcome Mary Kissel, my colleague and co-host of the WSJ.com Opinion Journal, each day at 1 p.m. Also a member of the editorial board of the Wall Street Journal. Mary, a very good evening to you. It's springtime in New York.
Thank goodness, John. Thank goodness.
I know Mary from Florida.
I suffered this winter.
Yes.
It was terrible.
I recall you first arriving from Hong Kong, and you said, "I've got to buy a coat." And I said, "Well, yes, Mary." Yes,
and now I've bought 10 coats, John, and 10 other layers to deal with the winter here in New York.
All right,
it's awful.
Gone. The daffodils are ready to burst out. Florida is impatient that we catch up. We now go to one of the paradises of the United States of America. This is San Joaquin Valley, particularly Fresno, California, because there is springtime there as well, and there's great celebration for the bounty of the earth, except there is a water shortage. This one, however, is not related to the question of drought that plagues all of the West. This is a man-made water shortage, and we're very pleased to have two expert voices on the troubles in the San Joaquin Valley, the breadbasket of the United States of America, and by the way, of the Pacific Rim, the way it exports. Ray Appleton of the Ray Appleton Show at KMJ each afternoon, and Devin Nunes, 22 California, of the San Joaquin Valley. Gentlemen, a very good evening to you. Within these last hours, yesterday exactly, there was a rally at Fresno about water rights and about the beseechment of the people of the San Joaquin Valley for there to be bountiful water to grow the crops and provide not only employment, but the riches to the rest of the country. Ray, I start with you because you attended the rally. Thank you very much for joining us. Who was there, and what was the atmosphere, and what was the achievement? Good evening to you, Ray.
Oh, my pleasure to be on your show, John. There were a lot of people there, but most notably the people that attended the water hearings. Doc Hastings, from the chairman of the National Resources Committee, Congressman Kevin McCarthy, of course Devin was there, Congressman David Valadao. We also had Congresswoman from Wyoming, Carolyn Lummis, who was an extremely hot ticket, and then we had a lot of local dignitaries and about 3,000 very uptight and excited people about our situation here with the man-made drought that, according to the president, when he visited our fair city a couple of weeks ago, this was all caused by global warming. Imagine that.
Devin, were you Ray, were you satisfied with the rally? Did you achieve what you wanted? I believe this is always a little iffy when you ask people to show up in their busy workday. Were you happy with it, Ray?
Yeah, I was happy with it. One of the problems we had, just simply because of our downtown area, it's notorious for terrible parking. I think we probably could have had more, but about 3,000 was fabulous. We had a state hearing the day before out in a rural community. We had 2,000. And then to get Governor Brown to declare a drought, we took 12,000 to Sacramento. So there are plenty of people ready to mobilize whenever we have something like this going on. And it has been locally the power of the people that's finally turning some heads after so many years.
Congressman Devin Nunes joins us. Devin represents portions of this bounty, the San Joaquin Valley. He attended the hearing, the House Natural Resources Committee, and Devin was invited to join in, though he's not a member of the committee in Washington. Devin, a very good evening to you. The committee was hearing the concerns of the valley. Were you satisfied that the hearings were adequate? Did they speak to the scale of the trouble? Good evening to you, Devin.
Thanks, John and Mary. The concern really is that President Obama came out here and blamed global warming, as Ray said. The Democrats from the state of California then demanded to have a hearing on how global warming caused this drought. Well, the Republicans in the House of Representatives, who have passed a bill this year and a bill last Congress, said, you know what, sure, we'll have a hearing, but if we're going to have a hearing, we're going to have it right in the San Joaquin Valley. So you can go there, bring your witnesses there, and please tell the people in the valley how it is that global warming caused this, because we're the people who have been watching water that's behind the dams get released, and we watched it flow right out to the ocean the last 7 years.
Congressman, I'm reading from the Fresno Bee, and it talks about the House bill, this latest article, just up in the last couple of hours, but it also discusses a Senate bill that offers, and I quote, $300 million in funding through various programs. What are these programs? What are the Democrats coming back with in terms of hard, cold cash?
Well, a third of it, this is actually, the irony in this. A third of it is for a livestock indemnity program. Now, in order to be eligible to get the money for your livestock, your cows have to die. So, nobody's waiting around for their cows to die, right? I mean, it's just ridiculous. And then there'll be money for food banks and other types of programs. But, nobody here, and Ray will vouch for me too, no one is asking for money. No one.
Ray, you have a show right after the rally yesterday and today. You take calls. It's a wide-ranging show, but the people of Fresno and the Valley, did they respond positively to this hearing? Did they feel that Washington's finally paying attention?
Yeah, there was some optimism. It's been a long time coming. Now we're just going to see what sort of actions that we have. Most of the concern is with a lot of angst that blows in the way of Senator Dianne Feinstein. And the point of yesterday's hearings was basically to get her and her companion senator, also from the Bay Area here in California, Barbara Boxer, to move on something that will deliver water to farmers in this area. Feinstein has toyed with us for years, saying, yeah, we're going to take care of it, we'll do this, we'll do that, and has basically done nothing. So whenever we hit this on the airwaves, it becomes more of a Dianne Feinstein bashing rally than anything else. However, yesterday, people generally felt that pretty much buoyed by having the committee hearing in Central California and also the people that were there, and we're just hoping that the Senate and the senators get the message.
Congressman, it's Mary here. Wonderful to have 3,000 people come out. They obviously are very agitated and they want something done. But is the media on the East Coast of the United States, in the nation's capital, engaged? Was there anybody there who's going to cover this and put this on NBC Nightly News or Fox or CNN or on the front page of the Wall Street Journal?
Well, Fox News has carried it live. They actually carried parts of the rally live and got pretty good coverage both days for both rallies. The Wall Street Journal, as you know, the editorial page has done a few nice stories about it. So the problem is ultimately everybody's going to have to pay attention here, because what I've been telling both senators now is that time has long since passed to try to fix this problem. Now you're really staring down the barrel of 800,000 acres of farm ground being idle. Okay, so just to put that in perspective, this is the most productive farmland not only in the United States but in the world, and that would be like 2 times the size of the entire state of Delaware. Basically going from fertile fields, growing every crop, over 300 crops, everything you can possibly imagine, to growing nothing.
To save some fish.
Well, and it's not to save fish. The whole argument of the fish is a phony argument. The fish populations go up and down. This is basically just about a species that's threatened. It's a threatened species, not even an endangered species. And as you know, the old story is if you find an endangered species on your property, make sure you get rid of it, because they'll shut your entire farm down. So what's happened here is the big angst in this with the fish is that it's this Delta smelt. It's a little 3-inch bait fish that's threatened, that every once in a while gets caught in the pumps that pump the water throughout the entire state of California.
Ray, how long have you got? Is there a timeline? Can you help everybody understand it? We don't live in farming communities, and we know you're patient and you have workarounds, but do you have a year? Do you have 2 years before this turns around?
John, I don't even know if we have a year left anymore. I mean, we've had so many farmers leave the business. We've fallowed so many acres. I think so much damage has been done. We have a lot of almond orchards here, and we've had a number of almond ranchers pull up their trees. So to turn that around is going to take years and years and years. And I'll give you an example of a very common vegetable that comes out of this area, lettuce. 260 million heads of lettuce are not going to make it to the market in the United States of America. What's that going to do to the price of food? What's that going to do to the price of lettuce? So in turning some of this around, I really don't know what kind of time we have. It should have been done years ago. And I'm very worried that we don't have much time at all.
Finally, Congressman, I see your colleague, Jim Costa, Democratic congressman from the region, says that 4 million of the people who live in the valley, and you start blaming other parts of the state, that's not going to work out very well. He wants solutions for both sides. Is Costa positive in this? Are the Democrats in the House working with you, Devin?
No, the Democrat, I mean, that statement in and of itself is absolutely ridiculous, right? Because the point of the whole problem here is that if we're going to keep the 800,000 acres that's threatened to go out of production here in the next few years, if we're going to keep that, we have to have the water that we were promised. People planted these trees. What Ray was alluding to is if you plant a tree today, you're like a pistachio tree, it takes you 7 years before you get the first crop off of it. So the problem that we're facing here is that we're really up against the gun, because these crops, once they die, who's going to then come in and invest the capital to wait 7 years for a crop to grow? So the whole idea that there's some compromise in the waiting, there's no longer a compromise. We either need all of our water back, or we're going to have to make very difficult decisions, and we're looking at roughly in that same area, about 800,000 acres being idled, which is, as I told you, about 2 times the size of Delaware.
Devin Nunes, congressman from the San Joaquin Valley, Fresno, California, and Ray Appleton of the Ray Appleton Show at KMJ, where we're broadcasting right now. Mary, the Wall Street Journal editorial page is a good place for everybody to follow this story. You've been covering it heavily recently.
That's right. My colleague Alicia Finley is doing a lot of work on this. You can follow her online. You can follow her in the paper. It's a disaster, John. It's a man-made disaster. It's hard to understand.
All in one place, Governor Brown. You can read it all at the Wall Street Journal editorial board. Mary Kissel, the Wall Street Journal editorial board, and opinion journal each day, WSJ.com. I'm John Batchelor.